Alright, we've got 3 packages. This top one being Curiosity, because it doesn't appear to be from Right Stuff. Not that they tend to have packaging like this, but I'm not sure what it is. So I'm definitely the most curious about it. That opened nice and quick. Come on. Sorry. Oh, yeah. I guess the reason this shipped this way is probably, I think, this is, oh, you know, a little lacy on the back. I think that's the right term. I think it's because what is today? I pre-ordered a lot of this week's stuff, a little later than usual, so I guess I didn't order that from Amazon, but it's still the right thing. One of the shows I was expecting. Not sure what to make of it, of course. Here we've got some other ones. Oh yeah, okay. I was wondering why I didn't get a DVD version of that. It's like, oh yeah, duh, because I got that DVD version of that ages ago. And this one is from Right Stuff. So I actually think it might be something that came out at the beginning of October, and I forgot to get it. And if it is, that will be quite hilarious. Oh, yep, it could be. I just need to double check. Yeah. Okay, and I laugh because this looks a little yaoi-ish. The DVD version is censored. Blu-ray is uncut. I mean, that's why I'm being careful. And uncut to me kind of suggests, so the back appears to be fine. I think it's the same for both. It's hard to measure up. Who released this? I'm having trouble seeing what that is. I'm wondering if this is Media Blaster Kitty Media. Really hard to tell. This Blu-ray is being a little tenacious, and that's all I needed in order to get this started. And I'm going to open this up off the side of the camera to make sure that yeah, it's nice and boring inside. And then the DVD version. And it didn't look like there were uncensored DVD, censored Blu-ray versions. So, this one's confusing. I don't know why this is released this way, and maybe I'm mistaken about whether or not this is anime. Might not be kidding. Media Blasters. DVD, that's person. So it's surprisingly lacking in terms of identifiers. So I don't think it's Media Blaster. Interesting. I'm having trouble focusing on. I'm trying to see if we've got subtitles in English and Spanish. Audio, that is Japanese audio. Or is the camera just blurry? I can't tell. But we've got the Titan's Bride Blu-ray DVD versions. I'll have to double check to make sure if I'll classify that as hentai. Because I thought it was, but maybe it's just adults, which I don't know. Anyways, Vampire Knight Blu-ray. I'm pretty sure I don't have this on Blu-ray. I mean, I'm pretty sure I do now, but I'm pretty sure I didn't before this. But regardless, I have it now. And it's actually kind of girthy nice. Oh, look, back is different there, and I kind of remember slightly enjoying it a little bit. I see a region A there. Shuriken and pleats. Pleats. I thought I was saying cleats. I'm like, what, ninja soccer? But no, it's actually pleats, which I think is a kind of dress or something. I'm drawing a blank. Oh, okay. So, we don't have a consistent color. We have Blu-ray. I think that's the indicator that this is the second season or something. Because it looks like all Blu-ray. That's what I would expect. Excuse me. Oh, I forgot to put the advertisement back in there. Oops. And this is not going in there very smoothly, but there we go. Eventually got it in. Next up, we got Naruto Blu-ray Set 5. Okay, I think I've got a rough idea of where some of this is in the series. I think it's about halfway. Ooh, Jujutsu Kaisen. Now there's a Well, I'm not quite sure why my phone was beeping at me, but there's one that I've heard the name of a couple of times. I guess I'll have to find out whenever it comes out on Blu-ray if it's good. Boruto? Naruto. And then we've got our simple 4 discs. 137 episodes. That is past the halfway point. Because if I remember correctly, there's 220 episodes in the first Naruto series. And IRC, the second half of it, is almost nothing but filler. And then we got, last but not least, Nozo x Kimi, Sentai Filmworks one. Which, again, we've got some pretty scantily clad persons in the back. So that's why, even though I had to be careful with Titan's Bride because it was something that's uncensored, and I think there was a warning that it was 18 plus on the Right Stuff website, still needed to be careful, I guess. This one I'll be careful, yeah. This one's a single disc. So what does this say? Okay, I see Japanese with English subtitles only. It's a number of episodes. Can't tell on the camera. Looks like it says 3. Well, that should let y'all know that, my eyesight isn't doing so good right now, I guess. Anyways, here's this week's anime DVD collection update. So, I did watch one episode of Kuma 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 Bear. I wanted to watch more. I ended up not feeling it, I guess. Part of it is the show didn't really do anything to really make me really want to watch it per se. But, on the flip side, it wasn't necessarily bad. I wanted to give it the full 3-episode treatment. And, my attention was just wherever. I mean, y'all have plenty of idea, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But, talking about this show, my main problem with the first episode isn't one that's necessarily bad. Again, it's just something that didn't hook me particularly well. I guess the basic setup is this is a Memorphiger, and I guess it's the first super realistic one, and our main character is, I'm pretty sure, an adult girl. I mean, with this art style, you can never 100% tell, but It kind of establishes that she's independently wealthy. She makes money by playing the stock market, and she does it so well that she can tell her parents to fuck off, essentially. And by that I mean, like, her grandpa calls or something like that, and she's like, oh no, I'm sure the parents are still off partying somewhere on the money I gave them. So, the idea is her parents have the easy life too, and she just wants to spend all of her time in this Memorpiger. And I guess some of the problem I have with that is mostly it really lessens the meaning of the conflict inside the Memorpiger itself, and it's more just kind of her doing her thing. And then at that point, you need to wow me. And since this one's about Kuma, bears, it doesn't quite it doesn't trigger any of my, oh, now I'm curious. The closest they get is they kind of hint that she has something that, oh, I can't use because then there would be nothing left of the enemy I'm fighting. But at the same time, I guess it just didn't feel like it was doing anything particularly interesting, especially since, for me, it being in a Memorpiger meant there was kind of a lack of meaning to the stuff that was going on in there. Now, to be fair, that's only the first episode, where sometimes you're trying to introduce the basic things, and then usually after that you're trying to do that. And that's why people usually say you give something 3 episodes, because it's not a horrible introduction. It's just bad because it doesn't really give you a hook, and it does a lot of things to counter that. And you've probably heard me say that about series before. And to be perfectly fair, episodes 2 and 3 might do that, but my distraction was elsewhere. And I guess before we talk about the full distractions, let's go with the other one that you might have guessed, and that's with my Friday friend. I watched some more episodes of Squid Game. This time we had more energy, so instead of just watching 1 episode, we watched 3, so we're 4 episodes in. And I'm having to keep my mouth absolutely shut, because there's certain things I know about the show that are completely spoiler, because I didn't think I would be watching it, but he's been enjoying it. I've been enjoying it. It's a good show. It does some unexpected things, but it really just keeps everything moving forward by the characters and how they're interacting and what they're doing. And it's just so refreshing and great. Even with the gimmick that the show has beyond that, you continue watching because you're kind of curious what these people are doing. Like, that girl, Jesus Christ, she's a fucking bitch. I want to see her on screen more. She's awesome. She's a horrible person, but she's fun to see on the screen. Things like that. And some of the interactions, they're building up us, the audience, knowing more than the characters. They're throwing very interesting, unexpected curves, but these curves aren't, haha, let's watch them suffer. It's more like, oh geez, they're suffering, and I would be suffering there too. And it's making sure we're seeing things from their perspectives, I guess. And like I've said, they're not realistic characters like from Alien, where you really feel like you're dealing with a bunch of truckers, space truckers, who just happened in a bad situation. Did I say aliens? I did mean Alien if I said aliens plural. I meant the very first movie. If anything, the characterizations are maybe similar to Aliens, even though I don't think you can really compare the two. But there is that similar, these people fall under more categories than in Alien. In Alien, you felt like they were just a bunch of every persons that you could probably be hanging out around with yourself. You could join your job next week, and no matter what position in the company, maybe you have a bunch of truckers who act exactly like those people, and you'll all hang out during lunch and say the same stuff. Aliens kind of not homely, it's very down to earth in that way, and very well done in that regard. And Squid Game isn't quite that, but it does have stuff like that. But then you still have people like, oh yeah, this guy's an obviously gangster person, this one's an obvious rebellious teenage girl, and they do lean in the direction of being those tropes. But at the same time, they don't. It's not hammy. It feels right. It's been very interesting, and
very difficult because my friend doesn't even know how much I have to hold back on saying, especially since, you know, like, even though I don't remember all the games, I've been introduced to what all games they play, and I remember little bits and pieces as it goes along. So, and it's interesting because that pretty much just puts me probably slightly behind people who actually grew up in South Korea and Japan. You know, I'm not going to be up at the same level as them, but those people are probably watching this and saying, oh, I bet it's that game that they're doing next. Because, you know, they get the gimmick of the show and where it's leaning and suggesting and all that stuff. And yeah, and basically, you know, they would probably know the games. Whereas I've just been introduced, not even to them directly, but rather a lot of them I just kind of know are in the general area of awareness just because of plenty of Japanese animation, you know, anime. I don't know why I felt the need to say it twice, to say it one way and then the other. The point is that, you know, I've been exposed to some of this stuff, and I was able to tell my friend, oh yeah, I've actually seen this one done in anime, but I didn't know that they set things up this way specifically because I'd only ever seen it animated, but seeing it live action kind of gives you more insight into some of the stuff. But, you know, it kind of means that, you know, I'm putting things together even if I don't remember everything, but I know enough to spoil it really big, which has just been interesting, and I don't want to say much more. I was just thinking though, but I think I'm vague. The only name I might remember is the cool immigrant guy I was talking about. I think it might have been Ali. And I'm trying to remember, maybe he is Israeli? I don't know. It's one of those things where I kind of had trouble telling, but they actually said that stuff, and for him I almost kind of remember it because, so like, my head can't process the names of most of the people because, first of all, you know, my focus is all janky, weird and shit, and second of all, when it comes to recognizing foreign names, it's definitely one of those things where I recognize and remember things better if I'm exposed to that kind of naming mindset more. So, obviously, I'm more likely, even though I'm horrible at it, more likely to remember a Japanese name or something that sounds Japanese, but these people are South Korean, so... And I keep saying South Korean, and maybe Korean is just fine. I mean, we don't want to mistake them for being North Korean per se, but maybe some of them were born in North Korea and made it down to South Korea, or something like that. I don't know. I'm, you know, losing focus. The point is, it's definitely a very different language, and when it comes to that language compared to Japanese, you know, the difference is good enough, but in the real world, I've been exposed to more Indian and Chinese names. You know, that's just a pretty natural thing when you're in development. You get exposed to a whole lot of people. Now, it doesn't help in terms of getting a feel for Chinese names, I guess, that it's pretty common for people from China to take on Western names. So, you know, I have a coworker, his name is Jeremy, but I'm pretty sure that his birth name from whichever country he came from is probably not that. He's probably, I don't know that he's Chinese, but he definitely gives me a from that area vibes. And I'd like to say that that's where I've experienced a lot of people that have picked up that name, but I think I've also experienced Vietnamese people who have as well. And, you know, it gets even harder when you have people that are descent from that, who clearly grew up here because, you know, they have very American accents. They don't seem like they're somebody who learned another language and then had to learn English on top of that. I mean, that's just a horrible thought, just how horrible it is to speak English having grown up with it. Poor souls. What has the internet done? Oh. English probably made the most sense because the internet is a bit of a melting pot, and so is the English language. And every other language is a little bit too, and I know there's some French people out there that are definitely resisting that. You know, especially French Canadians, Quebecians, I think. It might not just be Quebec. I think it's more than just that, but you know, they're I'm going way off on a tangent. What was I saying with all this? Anyways, 4 games in the Squid Game, 4 episodes in the Squid Game, 3 games, I think. Only 3 games into the Squid Game, and I'm enjoying it. You know, I look forward to playing it some more. Obviously, outside of that, you know, I haven't watched a lot of stuff other than a little few things here and there, and just reminiscing about how good Trigun is. Part of the reason for that is my brother named one of his cats after Meryl Streep, although I guess he spelled Meryl with 2 L's instead of 1 L. You know, that's a thing. And I was mostly thinking about that because, you know, that cat lives with my parents, and I guess just today, another one of the cats, you know, they're all getting old. Another one passed away. That's a Merle, not Meryl. Meryl's the only one left, which, you know, she's aged as well. But that said, she's a stubborn as shit little minx. I don't know. She would pick a fight with death and come out on top and not even know what happened. Because, you know, she's cat and also stubborn. And she's so precious in that regard as well. But at the same time, you know, I think she's deaf. Because she has poor volume control of her meowing. So that suggests her hearing's not as well. She shows signs of being a little bit blind as well, because she seems to have to navigate with things getting a lot closer. You know, that it could be like maybe she just can't focus or something like that, which doesn't sound good for a cat, but at least she's an indoor cat, so, you know, she'll have that going for her. And she's not declawed, so if something did somehow get in the house that was danger, at least she, in theory, has the ability to protect herself. But that's never been how any of the cats have died. You know, once we learned that they just perish when they're outside too much, you know, and they became indoor cats, then, you know, they lived a lot longer. They seemed to calm a lot more down and be members of the family. You know, cats kind of tend to resist that until they get kind of old, I think. And then at that point, it depends on if they kind of realize humans are good snuggle buddies. That's kind of sad news. I didn't think I was going to go there, but, you know, Trigun is nice to reminisce about. So, of the space western trio from that period, Trigun's my second favorite. Cowboy Bebop's my least favorite. And it should be noted that's least favorite, not liked. Cowboy Bebop's pretty fucking awesome. But I like something with a little more story to it, and Trigun and Outlaw Star have a little bit more story to it, whereas Cowboy Bebop is a bit of a musical experiment experience made into space western kind of. You know, it does great things with individual episodes. Overarching, it has some great things, but it doesn't feel like watching the show like you're watching an overarching story. Which is why Trigun's pretty great, and Outlaw Star's pretty great, but Outlaw Star, I think, is my favorite of that trio. Okay. Bunch of blah stuff, video games, Dead by Daylight. Obviously, still playing that, still have the same motivation. You know, really focusing, I spent a lot of this past week really focusing on Survivor just because I was on PTO, and I had the ability to maybe do what I actually successfully did, which is I prestige 3 and then reach level 50 again, Cheryl Mason. And she doesn't have all the perks I really want her to have. There's still some that she can learn from the blood tree and stuff she can level up that I would like her to. But she's got enough stuff present and leveled high enough that she's very playable. So now I'm focusing on Killer again. Because in particular I was kind of realizing that it would be nice to put some more levels into Legion. Legion's got some real problems, but because of that, Legion has some ability to be kind of fun. So, for example, I can score a shit ton of points with Legion just by going around, inflicting deep wounds on everybody a hell of a lot of times, kicking a lot of generators. Nobody ever collapsed except for one person who just didn't realize their deep wound was going to do that. And, you know, depending on what mood I'm in, you know, it's fine. I can do that and still score a lot. I don't even know how that's possible because, you know, even if I don't hook the people, it seems like I score a lot. And at the same time, you know, I'm doing it running around in a costume, so it's kind of funny and comedic. And it's a thing. It basically, so since my goal is to try not to get very salty at this game, with Killer, the best way to do that in long term is to pretty much play the game alternatively. And it's not like the stuff I do is something that nobody's ever heard of before. You know, there were people talking about how there's friendly killers, and other people were saying, yeah, you know, I'll only hook people twice, and then I'll stop hooking people because I want them all to escape. And yeah, I'm like, yeah, I do that. I just stopped hooking them more than once, partially because with a barbecue, you only need to hook them once. But if I hook them twice, you know, that would be good blood points. It's not that needed for all the stuff I'm doing. And there's always some risk when I go to the second hook that somebody's going to accidentally die. So, you know, all that said, you know, I think it's a good idea to come up with alternative goals. If your goal is to hook everybody once, then that makes it where when you chase that one person while the other 3 or 4 gens get finished, but they were the last person you needed to hook, that's fair. And if you catch them right after that last gen pops, you can make that call. Okay, am I going to hook this person, or am I okay with the 3 hooks I've gotten so far, and I'm just going to take this person to the nearest exit and let them go free. You know, they kind of know, oh yeah, the killer is saying good game. So lots of fun stuff, and so that makes me want to level up Legion. But then I kind of realized, as part of doing that, I kind of wanted not cannibals, trappers perks. Not that he has particularly good meta perks. One of them's, I think, kind of good and useful for certain meta situations, possibly. But for the most part, I don't think his perks are considered very meta. And in that regard, I actually kind of like them, because they allow you to play it in a way that's continues to be non-sweaty and allows you to set other goals. So one of the interesting ones he has is agitation, and that's the one that might be possibly good enough to be used by people focusing on meta, because agitation not only increases your speed while you're carrying your survivor, but it also increases your terror radius while you're carrying them, and that has a possibility to combo with other things. In particular, Starstruck, which you know, will expose people, and so it makes it really dangerous. And if you probably included with that something like Whispers or something like that, it'd probably give you an idea if somebody was really close to you after you hooked somebody and you go to get them knowing they were just exposed. And I don't know, I could see something like that really working. Actually, you wouldn't be able to do that when they got hooked, because the Whispers would be going off no matter what, simply because of the hooked person. So you'd have to be trying to do something else. But the point would be that you know, it seems better than mediocre, and it combos really well with Iron Grasp in this Halloween event, because for Killer you get bonus blood points for hooking somebody on a tangled hook for the first time. And I don't think it's every survivor's first hook. I think it's each hook you hook somebody on there once, and you get bonus blood points for doing that. And so what this means is you can knock somebody down, and because your agitator increases your speed and your iron grasp makes it where it takes just a little bit longer for people to get out of your grasp, and you don't swerve as much, you can beeline straight for something that's almost on the other side of the map. If there's nothing in your way, you might actually make it. It's really good for this Halloween event. And on top of that, Trapper gives you a little more flexibility for coming up with weird alternative rules, because his general playstyle is he's a killer with bear traps. He got buffed in the latest patch, and his buff is pretty good. So naturally he can hold 2 bear traps at a time, and there's guaranteed to be 6 that start on the map, which gives you 8 to work with. And you know, basically you can do shuffling stuff, and he's fun because you can take guesses as to what survivors might do if you come up to certain situations, and you can outplay them. A really good example is most maps have a killer shack, which has 2 doors on opposite sides, 1 door with a pallet, and then one of the walls that's, you know, between the 2 of them has a window on it. And so it's pretty natural to say, oh, well, there's a killer shack, and oh, hey, look, it's almost in the middle of the map, so let's just put a bear trap just outside the window on the inside. And this probably doesn't work for like high level or high MMR players or whatever, but if you're not dealing with those players all the time, that one just gets people randomly. They'll try to sneak into the building through the window and then discover, oh shit, he left a trap there. Somebody will try and loot me there, jump through the window, oh shit, he left a trap there. Although usually they try and loot me around the building, and they're really close along the wall, and they just happen to choose that wall where the window's at. Oops, they found my bear trap. And so, you know, I can get my 4 hooks relatively easily. I mean, again, I'm not playing high MMR by any means. And then after that, you know, I get to change the nature of the game I'm playing. Now, I don't try to let people wiggle out of my grasp, because with iron grasp, you know, it's a little more tricky, and then if agitator, I could just walk anywhere, and then they're going to be God knows where. But, you know, that means I have the flexibility to choose to do that. Maybe I just let them out. I know somebody else is nearby. They'll come and help. And then they'll step in the bear trap. And then I have to figure that out again. And then usually at that point, the survivors figure out, oh, this trapper's no longer hooking us, is he? Because usually at that point, when I'm having to clear stuff, I've always got 2 bear traps on my person. Just because for the end game, I like to do this funny thing where I just walk between the 2 of them and keep getting trapped on my own traps. It's a weird play, but you know, it means I always have traps on hand. So if I go there and I get somebody out of the trap, then I can, if they're still on the ground, I can open another trap, or the one that was there, pick them up, walk in the trap, bam, they're up and running again. Sometimes I'll do things where it's like, okay, my rule is if I manage to get to you and pick you up, then I'm dealing with you. But if you manage to get free, then I'm just going to let you run off. One time, because I needed to get in one hit, so I'm like, if I manage to get to you and knock you down, then I'm going to open the trap, pick you up, and let you free. And then there's, you know, since it's the Halloween event and I can see which generators are the tangled ones, sometimes I'll do things where I'll capture a survivor and then I'll intentionally take them to the tangled gen, because I don't tend to patrol the tangled gens. I'm a very festive person. I really like it when people celebrate, and for me, for the survivors, doing tangled gens is kind of their way to celebrate. And, you know, I'll make sure they know, hey, it's here, do this one, this is the generator you want to do. Maybe they get the clue, maybe they don't, doesn't really matter. The attempt is all that's important. And usually I patrol the gens other than the tangled one very intensely to try to make sure that one gets popped and somebody gets those bonus blood points. And it's always good to pressure the survivors like that, because if you pressure them, they get more blood points. They end the game with so many blood points because they escaped chases, or they got hit but didn't get hooked, and they managed to heal, and somebody else managed to heal them, and you know, it's all good stuff. And it's been fun playing Trapper. Although now that he's now that his perks are unlocked, it's time to put them into Legion and get Legion up there. But I've got some Survivor stuff to do first. So obviously, I'm just enjoying my time. But the important thing is, over this week of PTO, I got my Survivor character where I wanted them to be for now. They can still definitely go a little bit further, but they don't need to. The blood points can start going into killers so that when I'm playing Baby Killer, I'm maybe playing with 4 perks. Even if they're all yellows, it would be fine. Just more options. Oof. Those cherry Twizzler pulling peels can be a little gassy. Other game stuff. I think my brother and his peer group, they're getting a little burnt out on Dead by Daylight. And that makes sense. It clicks or it doesn't. But, instead we're just playing 7 Days to Die again. And this time's a lot more interesting because I'm not joining a game that my brother and somebody from that peer group had been playing in, and it was a live server native, but it could log in any time in theory. In practice, I never knew the IP for sure. And 7 Days to Die I kept seeming to forget. But it basically means I'm starting a little bit more from scratch, and so I'm working with my brother, and so we're coordinating a little bit more, and I'm getting to do stuff that's more along the lines of advancing the tech tree and actually learning what it means to play the game. I think I've gotten fortunate and I haven't died yet, although a bear and group of 3 wolves did manage to break a limb and maul me and get me really low down, those motherfuckers. Yeah, and the only death so far has been my poor brother's death, where he didn't expect the room in the very first house we were exploring to have a treasure room with 10 zombies in it. And no way out unless you built something. So he was down there, realized he didn't have time to even construct anything, got eaten. It sucked. But, it's a zombie game, and, other than that, we're playing careful and playing on a more casual difficulty where we're just trying to do stuff, and it's fun. I'm kind of hoping we'll play tomorrow, although technically it's past midnight, so it would be today. And alternatively, maybe Phasmophobia would be on the menu, just because that update did drop technically yesterday. 4 new ghosts, 1 new map, weather. There's a lot of things to be kind of curious about. So, I don't know. That's the stuff. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed me kind of babbling incoherently. Kind of half asleep. I don't know. Today's been a really weird day. But, well, technically it was yesterday. But no, today is part of today. Whatever. So, that's everything. I was trying to think if that means I'm going to watch that, and I don't know, so I'll just have to think about that. Y'all, have a nice week.